Thank you again, Cyril, and good morning again to everybody. Thank you for being with us today, discussing this subject at this time. Well, friends, as you know, we are facing a complex set of environmental crises. As UNEP's medium-term strategy calls them, the three planetary crises, which are climate, nature, and pollution. However, all these crises are intertwined and interlinked. Climate change, for example, affects nature's ecosystems by severe weather conditions leading to droughts and floods, as well as increasing water temperature leading to coral reef bleaching and so on. Similarly, upsetting nature's ecosystems by cutting the forests and changing land uses create conditions for climate change. So let me add that from a faith perspective, there is one additional crisis, which is the crisis of moral, ethical, and spiritual responsibility in dealing with nature. While we are all strive to achieve sustainability for the people to live on a healthy planet, we must embrace the notion that ecosystems, or if we call it nature, as central to all sustainability strategies. An ecosystems-based approach very much agrees with almost all religions, teachings, and sacred texts. All world religions and spiritual traditions highlight that the earth is created by God or is sacred and does not belong to humanity. Air, water, animals, and plants build on ecological community of life in which humans are members, not dominators. Humans depend on and benefit from the ecosystem services that the biosphere provides. Care for the earth, integrity, and stewardship for creation are fundamental religious spiritual principles in all world religions and spiritual traditions. In Buddhism, for example, the Mapada number 49 says, as the bee derives honey from the flower without harming its color or fragrance, so should the wise interact with their surroundings. In Islam, the Holy Quran says in chapter 15, verses 19 to 21, as for the earth, we have spread it out, set firm mountains on it, and made everything grow therein due balance. We have provided sustenance in it for you and for all those creatures for whom you do not provide. There is not a thing whose storehouse are not with us. And in Christianity, the Bible says in John chapter 3, verse 16, as Christians, we can be guided by God's desire of abundant life for all creations. So as you know, and as Cyril mentioned, the Faith for Earth strategy was adopted in 2017 with its main vision, a world where everything is in balance. This vision very much agrees with the overarching vision for the UN Decade for Ecosystem Restoration, which says, is a world where, for the health and well-being of all life on Earth and that of future generations, the relationship between humans and nature has been restored, where the area of healthy ecosystems is increasing, and where ecosystem loss, fragmentation, and degradation has been ended. So it is essential for all actors, including faith actors, to overcome the barriers identified in the strategy, and including the limited public awareness, limited political will, inadequate legislative and policy environments, limited technical capacity, limited finance, and limited scientific research. All these are the barriers to achieving the ecosystem restoration. Now, faith actors are key and important in playing a major role in the implementation of the UN Decade of Ecosystem Restoration Strategy. Religions or religious actors and religious leaders are trustworthy, as we know, and highly networked. They exist in every corner of the world, enabling them to operate and achieve on-the-ground results where and when needed. Moreover, faith institutions own over 8% of habitable land on Earth and 5% of commercial forests. So let's look at some of the 10 actions suggested by the strategy of the Decade of Ecosystem Restoration and see where faith actors and how they can make a difference, and some examples of already existing initiatives. First, one of the strategies is to empower a global movement. With approximately of 85% of the world's population believe in a religion, there is a massive potential for faith actors to empower these masses towards ecosystem restoration. For example, and I'm happy to have the Sikh with us, Sikh groups around the world have united towards planting 1 million trees in 1,820 locations across the globe, honoring the 55th birthday of Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikhism. Second, the strategy calls for finance restoration on the ground. The UN Decade calls for sustainable investments with long-term ecological benefits. Faith-based organizations, on the other hand, own trillions of dollars that can be used to finance restoration efforts around the globe. Already, over the past couple of years, faith investment institutions have declared their strategies for divesting from environmentally harmful industries. Yet, these institutions need to decide on where and what to invest. The Decade offers a wide range of profitable investments for businesses and nature. The third action or strategy is leadership. Faith leaders are in the front line to take these efforts a long way. However, they need to be aware of the problem and the solutions. Our sacred commitment, which was a declaration that we issued on the 8th of October by high-level faith political leaders, is an excellent leadership framework on nature-based solutions. The fourth element or action is shifting behaviors. As we know, the current unsustainable production and consumption patterns are considered immoral and spiritually unacceptable. We need a new paradigm shift that is based on spiritual and ethical values towards living in harmony with nature. The Catholic Laudato Si, care for our common home, and the Islamic Mizan to ensure living in balance with Earth are two examples of frameworks that provide not only the spiritual linkages, but also the religious commitments and solutions. The fifth strategy element is building up the next generation. And the UN Decade recognizes that the youth and future generations are most impacted by the current destruction of ecosystems. The Faith for Earth Coalition seeks to establish a youth council engaging young faith leaders and youth movements in environmental stewardship. The Youth Council seeks to build a network of global advocates for the environment to encourage innovation and mobilize actions and focus on localized impact. We are not creating a new thing, not at all. We are just promoting traditional practices and current efforts by faith and interfaith organizations. For example, the Living Chapel Project, which was started by the Vatican, UNEP, FAO, and other many organizations, unites concepts of nature, art, music, and architecture to inspire people to join in caring for our world. The Living Chapel aims to encourage worldwide acts of ecological restoration with an emphasis on tree planting in support of the UN Trillion Tree Campaign. The Interfaith Rainforest Initiative, which is run by UNEP and funded by Norway and implemented by many faith-based organizations, is an international multi-faith alliance that aims to bring moral urgency and leadership to global efforts to end tropical deforestation in 5 countries in 3 continents. The Global Campaign for Nature, another example, is a campaign that seeks to gather bold ideas for decisive action, particularly of indigenous and local communities, to conserve more than 30% of the planet in a natural state by 2030. It looks to expand protected areas, establish ambitious international conservation targets, invest in science, and inspire conservation action. So there are many more similar initiatives, but we need to scale up and mainstream to achieve the desired impact. So what do we call the faith community to do? A few things, and of course there are many, many others. First, mobilize masses of believers. We have to use this power. Pressure our own faith institutions to invest in ecosystem restoration to benefit the planet and the people. Practice environmental stewardship in our own faith institutions, whether it is institutions or individuals, in their buildings, lands, schools, etc., by preventing pollution, restoring lands, and regenerating nature. And awareness, education, teaching, role-playing, campaigning, volunteering, conducting activities at all levels and for all ages are very important to mobilize everyone. Whether the divine is transcendent or immanent, dualistic or monistic, the range of beliefs and practices call upon us to protect biodiversity and natural resources and engage as responsible faith followers in specific actions to preserve it. These religious perspectives combined with the scientific evidence and guidance can spur people toward achieving the overall objective of living in harmony with nature and ensuring everything stays in balance. Thank you very much.